Praying, praying, praying. Jehovah Rapha. Praying, praying, praying.
Savannah. They say how we keep on growing colder. Charity no longer on display. Instead of a hat like summer polder, it getting more scary every day. Baby found in a dumpster, old granny there. We creating monster, this we can't escape. Humanity's dying, savagery restore. Time to defrost ice and make hearts store. Yeah, my father, I need a song to face this crisis.
Forgive the nation.
Cut through crime and all injustice.
Song of inspiration.
Bring hope to the lost and hopeless.
Children of the ghetto.
To be the voice and the voiceless.
Today and tomorrow.
To speak to the mighty.
Oh yeah.
Those who wear the crown.
Oh yeah.
To humble the heart.
Oh yeah.
Till they hear the ground.
Oh yeah.
To tell every young and bandit, time for that to cease. A song to bring a tidal wave of peace. I need a song I pray, Father. Papa, give me a song. Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my song.
Jehovah Rapha, my rock, my song. Seems that we return to the law of Moses. Tooth for a tooth, eye for an eye. Man just giving in to his demon urges. Riddled bodies die while babies cry. Are we producing orphans in constant supply? Sale of human organs, organs shred and buy. In this age of robots, we done lost we soul. We stay afloat by remote control. Yeah, Father, I need a song to touch the conscience, to heal the nation, ring the bell against rape and violence.
Song of inspiration.
To be soul food to the hungry.
Children of the ghetto.
To calm the mood of the angry.
Today and tomorrow.
To speak to the fallen.
Oh yeah.
Lost and trampled down.
Oh yeah.
To force their mouths open.
Oh yeah.
And give each a tongue.
Oh yeah.
To loosen every shackle. A beat to make feet dance. To give every poor man slave a chance. I need a song. I pray, Father.
Give me a song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my song.
I pray, Father.
Give me a song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my song.
Cause a day is coming soon when the tide led by the moon shall rush upon the sand, wash land away. When the lion and the lamb shall be the great I am, prove man is nothing more than mud like clay. Scientists claim days are getting warmer. The phenomenon known as climate change. But Kim and Trump threatening nuclear trauma. The map of the world they wanna rearrange. In the Atlantic Ocean, cyclones stir and churn. Tragic devastation make our neighbors moan, while the bear and eagle wrestle in the dust. We see a president that none can trust. Heavenly Father, I need a song to face this crisis,
to save the nation,
drown out all them clan and races,
song of inspiration,
to bring strength to all the helpless,
children of the ghetto,
to be the eyes of the sightless.
Braden has amazed me. He's so strong.
You hear about cancer, but you don't ever think that it will be your child.
Today and tomorrow, for those who don't have plenty,
oh yeah,
a song to make them strong.
oh yeah,
All who belly empty,
oh yeah,
to help them hold on
oh yeah,
in this time of anguish, in these days of pain, to help my country ease and breathe again. I need a song, I pray, Father, Papa,
give me a song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha,
You are my song.
I pray, Father, Papa,
Give me a song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha,
You are my
for
song.
those who sick and down with cancer,
I need a
so
song.
let them know God is the answer.
You are my song.
Single mothers beaten, broken.
Need a
It's
song.
not over till God has spoken.
You are my
For
song.
that youth facing deep depression,
I need a
you
song.
find a walk in this recession.
You are my song.
For that man by one thread hanging,
Give me a
so
song.
he'll know hope and help is coming.
You are my song.
Crying, Father, Papa,
You are my song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my
I
song.
thank you, Father, Papa,
You are my song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
My rock, my song.
Jehovah Rapha, my rock, my song.
Jehovah Rapha.
My rock, my song. Jehovah Rapha, my rock,
My song. Jehovah Rapha.
my rock, my song.
Jehovah Rapha.
My rock, my song. My rock, my song. My rock, my song. Scientists claim days are getting warmer. The phenomenon known as climate change. But Kim and Trump threatening nuclear trauma. The map of the world they wanna rearrange. In the Atlantic Ocean, cyclones stir and churn. Tragic devastation make our neighbors moan, while the bear and eagle wrestle in the dust. We see a president that none can trust. Heavenly Father, I need a song to face this crisis,
To save the nation,
drown out all them clan and races,
song of inspiration,
to bring strength to all the helpless,
children of the ghetto,
to be the eyes of the sightless, today and tomorrow. For those who don't have plenty,
oh
a
yeah,
song to make them strong.
oh yeah,
All who belly empty,
oh yeah,
to help them hold on
oh yeah,
in this time of anguish, in these days of pain, to help my country ease and breathe again. I need a song, I pray, Father, Papa,
give me a song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha,
You You are my song.
I pray, Father,
Pray,
Papa,
give me a song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my
Those
song.
who sick and down with cancer,
I need a
so
song.
let them know God is the answer.
You are my
So
song.
single mothers beaten, broken.
Need a
It's
song.
not over till God has spoken.
You are my song.
That youth facing deep depression,
I need a
you're
song.
fine and walk in this recession.
You are my song.
For that man by one thread hanging,
Give me a
so
song.
he'll know hope and help is coming.
You are my song.
Crying, Father, Papa,
You are my song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha, Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my song.
Jehovah Rapha, my rock, my song. Oh, it seems that we return to the law of Moses. Tooth for a tooth, eye for an eye. Man just giving in to his demon urges. Riddled bodies die while babies cry. Are we producing orphans in constant supply? Sale of human organs, organs shred and buy. In this age of robots, we done lost we soul. We stay afloat by remote control. Yeah, my Father, I need a song to touch the conscience, to heal the nation. Ring the bell against rape and violence.
Song of inspiration.
To be sold food to the hungry.
Children of the ghetto.
To calm the mood of the angry.
Today and tomorrow.
To speak to the fallen.
Oh yeah.
Lost and trampled down.
Oh yeah.
To force their mouths open.
yeah.
And give each a tongue.
Oh, yeah.
To loosen every shackle. A beat to make feet dance. To give every poor man slave a chance. I need a song. I pray, Father. Papa,
Give me a song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my song.
I pray, Father. Papa,
Give me a song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my song.
Cause our day is coming soon, when the tide led by the moon shall rush upon the sand, wash land away. When the lion and the lamb shall be the great I am. Proof man is nothing more than mud that clay. Scientists claim days are getting warmer. The phenomenon known as climate change. But Kim and Trump threatening nuclear trauma. The map of the world they wanna rearrange. In the Atlantic Ocean, cyclones stir and churn. Tragic devastation make our neighbors moan, while the bear and eagle wrestle in the dust. You see a president that none can trust. Heavenly Father, I need a song to face this crisis,
To save the nation.
to wrong out all them clan and races,
Song of inspiration.
to bring strength to all the helpless,
Children of the ghetto.
to be the eyes of the sightless, today and tomorrow. For those who don't have plenty,
Oh
a
yeah.
song to make them strong.
Oh yeah.
All who belly empty,
Oh, yeah.
to help them hold on
Oh, yeah.
in this time of anguish, in these days of pain. to help my country ease and breathe again. I need a song. I pray, Father.
Give me a song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my song.
I pray, Father.
Give me a song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my
Those who sick and down with cancer,
I need a
so
song.
let them know God is the answer.
You are my
So
song.
single mothers beaten, broken. It's not over till God has spoken.
You are my song.
That youth facing deep depression,
I need a
you
song.
find a walk in this recession.
You are my song.
For that man by one thread hanging,
Give me a song.
he'll know hope and help is coming.
You are my
I'm trying, Father.
You are my song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
You are my
I
song.
thank you, Father. Papa.
You are my song.
Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rapha.
My rock, my
song. Jehovah Rapha. My rock,
my song.
song.
Jehovah Rapha.
My rock, my song. Jehovah Rapha. My rock,
My song. Jehovah Rapha.
my rock, my song.
Jehovah Rapha.
My rock, my song.
Jehovah Rapha.
My rock, my song. My rock, my song.
Jehovah
Yeah.
Karine Ashe, Song of Inspiration, one of the young titans of the music, female. Song of Inspiration, quite a moving calypso. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. Song of Inspiration. Song of Inspiration. The world around us is going in all kinds of sideways, but we have to keep holding on. Keep holding on. We need as much inspiration as we can get. It's trying times for the world and trying times for our country. Usually the month of December is a month of joy and goodwill, but in our country, Guyana, all is not well. We come again and again to bear witness to the ills and the dooms of our time. But we have broken down so many barriers before. We have overcome, always overcoming, and we shall overcome again and again. Song of Inspiration. Inspiration we need, and inspiration we shall will ourselves to embrace. Hold the banner of Ethiopia aloft. Ethiopia, the land of our birth, the land where our forefathers were born. I grew up as a boy hearing the older men and women in my village holding aloft the banner of Ethiopia. When the bell rang in 1930 and His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie was coronated, our people were inspired by the prophecy of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, that a king shall arise in the east. And when Haile Selassie was coronated, the Rastafarian movement was born. Here we are, 94 years later. We are still being inspired again and again. The times may be dark. It may be storming tonight, but joy cometh in the morning, always. Joy cometh always in the morning. Some people say, good God will come from the sky and make everybody high. But I want mine on earth. Almighty God, the living God. The living God. And we are going to get ours on earth. Those who put their hands where they should not go must dirty. They put their hands on something they never believed in. They never believed that we, the Guyanese people, are the real owners of the wealth that's God, Jehovah, whatever you call him or her. That wealth was put there. That wealth at the bottom of the ocean is watered with the blood and the bones of our ancestors who were hauled from the shores of Africa and brought against their will. Their bones, their blood are engraved on that oil that is gushing out from there. And we, the sons and the daughters, the grandsons and the granddaughters, the cousins, because those who came after are our cousins. They are our cousins. And all of us are destined to share that wealth. And those who never wanted to share it with us, they tried to do a fake thing. But the hand of God is writing on the wall. The hands of God is writing on the wall that they are not genuine. And so they are messing up the distribution because they never meant to distribute it in the first place. And so they're messing up. Today I got calls from school teachers on the East Coast, in schools, in some of the communities, the stronghold of the PPP. I understand that some of the schools are distributing the cash grant from 3 to 7. But people are coming during the school hours and enticing some teachers to leave the children that they are teaching to go and register people. I understand some of the teachers are the people who are doing the registration, and they are supposed to do it from 3 to 7. But people are coming with bribes during the school day and getting our teachers to leave the children to take bribes to register people because they hear that only some people will get the money and others will have to wait till after the budget. So they're bribing teachers to register them early so they can get, oh my God, the corruption, the bribe. They're stinking up our country. And teachers are leaving the children that they're supposed to teach and going in the corner and registering and taking a little small piece. I got 4 such calls today. What a shame. What a shame. Everything these people put their hands on, everything, they just corrupt it. Corruption, 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 corruption. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. We are doing what we are put here to do. And that is to stand in the way of injustice. Stand in the way of badness. Stand in the way of wrongness. Stand in the way of injustice. Because ultimately it is justice that must roll down from the mountaintop and swamp the valleys. Because we are a just people, always and forever. We have come too far to turn back. And these people are trying to turn us back. Apostle London is here tonight. Let's roll. Let's roll because all of you, good evening. Good evening. We're doing it. Apostle, it's always a pleasure to have you, my brother.
The pleasure is mine, and greetings to you. Forgive me, as you can see, I'm not at home, I'm not in studio, and I have some wonderful friends in the background.
That's
but
okay.
I have to be with you nonetheless.
Thank you
and to
very
those
much.
who are viewing, thank you all for joining as well.
And when I'm in your presence, I'm always humbled because I think sometimes that I may be overdoing it. You know, as I reflect on where my country is going, as someone who has been witnessing from since I was a boy in short pants, I always think that better will always triumph worst. But as I look around and the damage that is being done to the soul of our country, the soul of our people, the transforming of our people into ugliness. I just talked about what I heard today is happening in some schools where teachers who are trained to be registrants, whatever they call them, they are trained to register the people, and registration starts at 3 when school is over, from 3 to 7. But people are coming to the school during the day, enticing teachers to come out and register them for a bribe. Apostle, talk to me.
I'm aware of this happening in Linden, in Region 10, and it's not happening after school. They are going during school hours. I mean, in the morning, not even in the afternoon.
During school hours, that is what I'm
hearing. Okay, I'm aware of that.
You're aware of that?
Yes, not
so
even
it's
in
not
the
just on the East Coast.
Yes, I am. What is normal for Linden? They're in Linden now, Region 10.
Yes.
and they've gone to the high schools and so on. Teachers are called out to the classrooms to go to register for this cash grant or whatever term they want to call it. Children are in school, and of course, the children are not getting it. So the teachers are the ones who are being called out of the classrooms, and they have to either choose to go, or if they stay in the class and they miss the moment. And their PPP, of course, lackeys who are going around and cronies, and they're the ones who are spearheading this whole process. I'm well aware of that. That's happening across London now.
Wow, 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 wow. My brother, you were a spiritual man. All of us are spiritual people. We have to be. We don't have a choice. We don't choose to be spiritual. And I know as
Right.
political
Correct.
people, sometimes we think about the vanity of the world and we think about the politics of the world. And we don't always think about the spirituality of the world and the way in which, politics can damage the spirit of people, And I've been reflecting more over the last couple of weeks on the enormous toll that this PPP government is taking on our country. They're turning some of our people into monsters, into creatures, to use a poetic term, because I don't want people to think I'm calling human beings creatures. They're turning our people into creatures we don't recognize. To quote a poet, Velma Pollard from Jamaica. Talk to me.
It is happening, and I am no longer in a position to say that I'm pained by it, nor am I surprised by it, because I realize that to many people, what matters most is the perception that they receive wealth and the ignorance of what wealth really is. Because you can receive money and still be a very poor person. And if a man is prepared to stifle his conscience and, to some extent, cripple his spirituality, to me, he's the world's greatest pauper. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing individuals who are prepared to honestly abandon their faith, abandon their convictions regarding their faith, and just chase after this dangling grant, whether it's 30,000, 100,000, 40,000, 10,000, whatever it is. People now are prepared to even attack their own African descendants, and in some cases their own Indian brothers and sisters, I should say, or countrymen, for the sake of being associated with the PPP to gain wealth or with whoever it is. It's unfortunate that I must say now that even those of the cloth and many religious circles, the imams and the pandits and others, they've gone alarmingly silent because many men have a price. I thought I was numbered among those who didn't have, but I'm now seeing that there are many men who actually have a price, and it's not much to be paid to have some of them to go quiet in order to gain whatever benefit it is. And it's just sad because you're touching on a very, very serious note, Doctor, when it comes to the spiritual nature of a man and the spiritual qualities he must possess. I believe that spirituality supersedes everything else in our life. There's no price that should be attached to it. When you have a conviction that's based on your spiritual status or your spiritual faith and your faith, there should not be a price attached to that. Nobody should be able to influence, infiltrate, or infuse into any person any form of immorality for the sake of money, and that's what we're seeing now. People have become immoral for the sake of money, and I need to clarify that. If a man is a preacher or he's a pandit or an imam or whatever you are, and you can go silent in the face of injustice, you have become an immoral person. That is my conviction. It happens to be the truth. Because righteousness cannot be spoken in silence. And you see, you struck a chord, now you decide to go spiritual with me tonight. You can't.
Oh, yes.
There's no way that you can be righteous if you're quiet. So I don't know about these silent people we have in this country. Righteousness has a sound attached to it. And it's normally one that's matched with hatred.
Brother London, you were there in Linden. And I remember well, and I'm not making a comparison between groups, ethnic groups, and making a comparison between eras, what I'm about to say, and to get your reflection on. I
Sure.
remember during the era of Burnham, and like all leaders, Burnham had his excesses. And I remembered people, his supporters, people who voted for him in Linden and Buxton and Georgetown and all over the place. They loved him, they voted for him. But when people like the Rodneys and Kwayanas and Thomases and Andayes and Ogunses and others said, but he's engaging in excesses. The very people who loved him, who voted for him, came out on the streets and protested against his excesses. It's I was part of it as a boy and as a young man. And as I get old, I'm reflecting back and I'm realizing that was something deep was happening. People who profoundly love a leader, but were prepared to stand up and to say, we love you, but we do not like your excesses. And as I look around now, people who love this government, love the leaders of this government, are so quiet and so complicit, all of them from top to bottom. They have gone quiet, they're hiding, and they're not saying to their own, but you are wrong. Oh my God, I'm not comparing Africans to Indians. I'm comparing eras. Yes, it was mainly Africans who loved Burnham, and it was mainly Africans who stood up against Burnham in places like Linden and Georgetown and the African villages. And today, the supporters of this government, Indians, Africans, the few of them, Amerindians, they watch this government plunder our country and say nothing. Reflect on that for me, my brother. We're not hearing you.
I didn't hear the latter part of it.
No, I'm saying please reflect on my observation there of then and now. The way in which the followers.
Thank you, Dr. Annie.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, and I must say or reiterate that your observation is not about ethnicity. It's about person's character. It's about what makes a man. And I believe that then in that era, the likes of Kwayan and those they and Rodney and so on, they're built differently. They were not wired to be attracted to that which is wealthy or appears to be wealthy in terms of having much. They were not attracted to greed, as far as I'm aware, to chase after it. And more than anything else, they were more or less people who were given to being rational and processing things and analyzing and being prepared to propagate their thoughts among people. And it was just a refreshing time even I read about it. The culture of people we had, and I encountered, of course, you see Kwayan up until now in his writings and his utterances, and he was very, very given to or prone to being one who analyzed a lot and spoke to how he felt. What we have today, in reference to those who, I don't even think some of them support the PP, and that's unfortunate. They're not necessarily supporters of. They're just those who are opportunistic and are aligned with the PP to receive something from them. And that, I think for me, that's called whoredom. I can't find another word for it. They just align themselves to receive something. So in essence, they would not speak to their convictions because their conviction has an economic disbenefit. Let's just face reality here. There are people who would whisper in circles. The man, they're doing too much, man. I don't think Barra doing the right thing. Why they got to forget all the money? Why do someone build a big 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 houses? And they would say that. Why do someone have so much money in a contract and that one can't? They'll mumble and they'll murmur among themselves, but they would not say it loudly, because to speak as loudly as Walter Rodney or Yusik Wayana or those who had the nerve to say that would cost them something economically. And that is where the difference lies. It's called greed. It is whoredom. It is ridiculous, to say the least, that persons who are not even supporters of the PPP are aligned to it because of what they can gain from that. And that is a dangerous place to find ourselves in, whereby persons, it's no longer about whether you are what they call a die-hard supporter. It's about whether you are a wise opportunist. And to be a wise opportunist in this case is to be one who's quiet and a recipient of that which they consider to be food, because everybody got to eat.
Apostle, let's get proper to this cash grants, this cash handout, whatever it's called. From the day they announced it to now, it is becoming clearer and clearer that, first of all, they never intended to do a proper transfer of some of the wealth of people. Second, they don't know anything about how cash transfers work. Third, that their objective is political gimmickry, opening up opportunities for corruption, and thirdly, to throw dust in the eyes of our people. And clearly, because some of us, our eyes are open and there is no dust in our eyes, we are able to corner them. And so there is no way in which they can get away. And so the thing is becoming self-evident by the day. When you were here the last time, we said, look, this thing was not budgeted for.
Correct.
Jadio cost us.
Correct.
Now we have to crawl back to Parliament, ask for a supplemental. And now they're telling us that we couldn't get everything then. We now have to put it in next year's budget. Now, if the thing was in this year's budget, it would have been obvious to us that these people intended to give this thing. They thought it through, but it is clear that they don't intend, and so they're stumbling from one problem to the other. In the end, my brother, are we saying you reap what you sow?
Most definitely. And this entire fiasco and sham, I call it a ballet, because when the violinist started to play, Ali said $250,000 to be given, 200,000 as a matter of fact, immediately. And the man who's paid to function as the executive president of this country made a declaration, an utterance. And I am yet to be convinced that he is convinced that he was entirely embarrassed by the puppet master. It was a disgrace of international proportions when the head of state can say you will receive something, and then one who has no, as far as I'm concerned, constitutional office. There's nothing calling vice president in our constitution. That's an exclusive position. And he can say, no, you're not getting any $250,000. Furthermore, you're not getting anything right now. You'll have to wait. It tells me that there was no intention. It goes beyond planning, Dr. Hines. There was no intention to do it. There's not about planning here. Because if they intended to do it, they'll operate just as they've done in many other ventures. They had no intention of doing so. But they realized that if you have elections in a few months, then it makes sense to try to bribe the Guyanese population, because their performance has been so dismal. The way they've treated with our interests has been so dismal. And what they call development is so disgusting that they have to find a way to pay you to vote for them. And that way would have been to call a huge sum. Because for any guy needs to think that $500 is a lot, it means to the PPP, you are a poor person. You are severely impoverished. To say that in 2024, $500 $100 can move you is an insult to the average Guyanese. And one like me, I take that as a direct insult. Worse is when you tell me that I have to be photographed to receive it, because the cane cutters in quarantine then one photograph to receive $250,000. Though they got severance before from the Guyanese administration, they were paid, and they came back and said we're suffering. And Jagdio, I was in quarantine that day. I was there that day when Jagdio said to them, "You shall receive $250,000." No photograph was taken. And now they're going into schools and tell teachers that they have to be photographed to receive money. And they hold the device in their hand and say, "Take your photograph." What is most comical to me, I don't know if you get it, but I'll say it anyhow. I don't mind repeating it. Is when they tell me, or a person, that you have to, I think I have it. Yeah, I have it. Okay. I have to have this, Dr. Hines, my national ID card. I have to show them this for them to take my photograph. Now, I don't want to use bad words in your program. You're a good man. But help me to understand. This can't work for me to get the money. But you take this when you come and take my photograph to see who I am. How does that make any sense? You take my national ID card so that you can identify me, to take my photograph when I show up for the money. Well, I don't want it. I'm launching a protest, and I don't know how many Guyanese are prepared to stand by it, but I am not going to receive any insulting gesture from the PPP or anybody to say that I have to be photographed. If the cane cutters were not photographed to get $250,000, I shall not be photographed to receive $100,000. It's not happening. And more than that, the manner in which this ballet is playing out. Ashton say one thing. Mark Phillips says something else. Jagdio comes, of course, being the big bad boy, saying, "None of y'all right. Wait until some of y'all will get it next year." Then they go into the schools. I thought you could have gone to some center to get this. Now they go to people's schools to say, "Come out to classroom. Come, teachers," and people run and leave the people children alone so they can be photographed and not receive the money, by the way. And then in Lethem, you're hearing people are getting money in envelopes. So what's really happening in Guyana here? I thought it was going to be you receive a check of some sort, or when the time is right, then you get this money. But no, in certain regions, the reports are coming in that persons are getting their money in hand. The ballet continues because the players have a gimmick that's unfolding before our eyes.
You know, and the thing with the teachers, let me repeat again, repeat again.
That's fine.
Let me repeat again for emphasis. Look, some of the teachers are trained, and they're the people after school who register the people to get the cash grants. What is happening in some of the PPP communities is that they're turning up to the school. The teachers who are supposed to register them at 3 o'clock, they're calling the teachers out of their classroom, giving them a little frick and say, "Register me. I want to wait till 3 o'clock to go in the line because I hear not everybody gonna get the money before Christmas. So I want to get first." So they're enticing teachers to leave the people children, give them a little frick and say, "Register me outside of the registration time." Yeah. Turning our teachers into engagement skullduggery, taking bribes, registering people outside of the registration period. And these people are just corrupting our entire country.
I don't know if you heard anything from the GT regarding this situation, because I said I'm aware of it. And I thought that the GT would have reacted by now, but I haven't heard anything. I don't know if you have, so maybe you can speak to that. I haven't heard.
I haven't tried. I got 4 calls today from 4 schools in 4 villages on the east coast of Demerara to say, "Dr. Hines, this is what is happening. I am next door. The teacher's gone and left for class to go out and register, and I see money passing."
Yeah. Because there's a henchman, in when they go, at least Region 10, there's one who's moving around. Yes. And people know him to be a PPP acolyte or whatever term they want to use. So he's the man, and he's directing the show. So I didn't know this thing had a specific order in which it had to take place, or somebody, you have to know this person to go through a channel. I say, for me, doing this, the hours where our children are in class, I do not understand how you can have anybody going onto campus, and campus is across Region 10, to register any human being called a teacher while children are at school. I don't know. I can't wrap my mind around how things happen in this country.
And register people.
Yes.
When he
They're
or she
calling them
should
out.
be teaching.
The announcements are being made across the school. The people are there, you know. So I don't understand what.
Brother London, you and I have spoken so often. Sometimes I thought we were voices in the wilderness about what happened during the 2020 election. That coming out of the recount, it was discovered that there were persons who voted who were not in the country. We were told this by the chief immigration officer. And at the press conference last week before the last, it all came out when the chairman of GCOM said she was in receipt of 8,000 claims of voter impersonation. And she did not act on them because this was a matter for a petition. First of all, she acted on 2 batches. She sent a first batch of 205, The chief immigration officer / commissioner of police sent back and said, of this 2005, 173 people were not in the country. Another batch was sent, and he sent back and said 99 people were not in the country. So she lied. She acted. And then she stopped acting. And now she's saying it's a matter for a petition. Secondly, the 47 boxes that had no statutory document. Dennis Chabral, the reporter, asked the chief legal officer, what does the law say should be in the box? He smirked. And then he said, the law said you have to have documents in the box, including sensitive documents. Now that makes sense. If you have votes, you have to have documents that correspond with the votes. If you take out the documents, what are you, and you're counting, because the order 60 was about counting, not SOPs now. SOPs gone. This is about counting. Right. You count the votes in those, but you have nothing to correspond them with. How do we know these votes are valid? There is no document. He said that it was a breach of the law. Miss Claudette Singh, Justice Singh, said that if anyone was found who voted, who was not in the country on that day, it's a breach of the law. Am I crazy for saying that GCOM declared an election knowing that there was potential and actual breach of the law? Talk to me, Pastor.
I am so grateful that you've raised this, Dr. Hines, because when I saw the interview or the press conference, I didn't know it turned out to be because she was evading certain questions. But when I saw that, again, it points to the puppeteering that our nation has now become known for, and it's becoming an embarrassment. And it is one thing, or people who know me, I think you and I have shared enough platforms to know that I don't take like people seeking to insult me. It's very I get enraged because I have not returned to my country after 15 years to be insulted. Honestly speaking, I could have stayed in the US or the Bahamas and let people tell me what they want. But I came home because I thought I would have had a different environment in which I could raise my children. Now, this electoral situation, elections 2020, turned out to be just like this cash grant thing, an absolute disgrace. Because persons who knew exactly what was required of them legally opted to act contrary to the law. Now, my conviction is that given what followed, and I'll speak to all Anil and Claudette in a minute, but what followed for 5 months should require these same players like Claudette Singh and Anil and others to be imprisoned. That's my conviction, because you caused the nation to plummet into a state that we are yet to recover from, based on what they knew to be the legal requirements. Something tells me that beyond that would have been other players from the USA and other nations who bargained with these people to have certain benefits accrue. And I believe that with all of my heart, because anyone who read a portion of the Representation of the People's Act would know that there was nothing called an Order 60 that could have arrived at. There was nothing called a recount that you could have arrived at. If Claudette Singh had done her job, I, from March 2020, said to Claudette Singh, among many other people said it, Madam, you have got the empowerment by law to do one basic thing. If you think Mingo doing something wrong, whatever people say, you have statements of poll in your possession. You have Mingo statements of poll. You have everybody's statements of poll. First thing, put them on the table. Put them on the table, call them into GCOM headquarters, and have a comparison done. First step. Second step, if you want to open anything called a ballot box, and that ballot box does not contain statutory documents that are required by law, you cannot consider those ballots to be valid. This woman, this lady, blatantly refused to do what was proper and lawful. Additionally, I heard, this wasn't hearsay, I saw Anil Nandalal saying that there's nothing called an invalid vote. I could not believe my ears that this came from a man who was supposed to be the guru for the PPP, the brainiac, the legal luminary. And he said there's nothing called an invalid vote. So if I have a document in my hand called a ballot, and I cannot match a face, an ID number, a passport number, or some form of identification, including some affidavit, sworn that I know this man, and I said that's still valid. Now tell me something. How do we play these games with people's lives for so long? And I must say, I must input this here, right here. You see this same photograph being taken for this cash gun story here? I told people before, watch, if they have 400,000 photographs taken, look at the PPP's SOP, statements of poll, come election. It will be close to 400,000. I promise you all that. And they'll say, well, you see, the people came out to vote, and we have record to show. We have biometrics to show.
Oh, yes.
You know what? Mark my word in this country. Mark tonight may be a spiritual night.
I completely agree with you.
They have a plan for us to use numbers from this same money story here to choke some people, and you won't even know what happened to you. And that's why I must say this, Dr. Hines, not necessarily seeking agreement, but it's my conviction. I have a problem when PNC or APNU, whatever you call it, members of parliament or those associated with the party would go out to be photographed as well for money. You all need to understand what we're doing to people here. Because you can't be in parliament objecting to something and then take photograph to get it. We have to do this thing right. Tonight is not a bash them night. I'm just saying to people, we have to look beyond what we see. You have dealt with the people who in 2020 proved to you that they were fully prepared to violate our constitution to gain power in this country. What makes you think they're different in 2024? When Claudette could say that she knew what was expected. How could she go to a recount if she knows that you can only have a recount based on a legal order that would have been born out of an election petition? You can't get no recount.
That's right.
And my point is, even if Granger said, let's go to a recount, I said to Granger and Jagyo, you can't say nothing but recount. Sorry for talking like that, but let me talk Guyanese tonight, please. Please. I said, how could you tell me that Jagyo said or Granger said, let's have a recount? Who are they? The moment you begin to go to the poll, none of them have power in this country unless there's a problem. Then Granger could have an executive order given and he called state of emergency and shut everything down. And he didn't do that. So if he doesn't want to do that, then the power rests with GCOM, not him, not no Chief Justice acting.
But you see, when the Region 4 returning officer said, these are my numbers, this is what, she should have signed off on it and said what she's saying now.
Exactly.
If PPP, you don't like it, go to a petition.
From day one. That's
But
what
she
the law
didn't do
states.
that. Now she's telling the APNU PNC, go to a petition. You didn't tell the PPP, go to a petition. You went to a recount that you and I and many people feel that is unconstitutional.
It is.
So
I
you
said-
answer the PPP's query by opening the box unconstitutionally, rather than tell them, carry your complaint to a petition. When you open the box, you realize that the PPP thief long before election. When APNU said, correct it now, you tell them, go to a petition.
Yeah.
And you are telling me that you are a fair arbiter? You are not.
No.
You are covering up fraud.
It is fraud.
Some will go further and say that you were complicit in fraud. And then when the election was over, my brother, you couldn't do a review, not an investigation, a review.
Mm-hmm.
Review. When you do a job, you always say, "Bye. Let me see whether I get this thing right." It's human to do that. She fought against an internal review. Because
Even up until now.
Up to now, because as she said at the press conference, she knew that there were breaches of the law. And our internal review would show the breaches of the law, and she has fought against it. That lady should get out of there. I have absolutely no confidence in her conducting a proper election in 2025.
No, but Dr. Hines, permit me.
Yes.
She should not get out of there, as they say, monopoly, get out of jail free. No, she should be imprisoned. We can't have Lowenfield before the magistrate, Myers before magistrate,
yes.
Mingo before magistrate, and she's not before magistrate.
Yes.
She is worse than them all combined in reference to her confession. I'm speaking to what she said. The moment she sat at that press conference and said, for me, since 2020, when she said that they asked a recount and the Chief Justice suggested we do the same, so we'll do it, I had a problem from then and she should go to jail. Because ROPA, the Representation of People Act, doesn't say anything when any Chief Justice telling you giving you advice to do anything.
Here you go.
The Chief Justice has no power unless a case called a petition is brought to him or her. Respectfully, madam, there's nothing called a suggestion from a Chief Justice in our law. But I'm convinced, Dr. Hines, that there were international players who caused person in this country to bypass, eliminate, totally forget and abandon the law to orchestrate what I consider to be a change of regime, because it was too glaring, the fraudulent conduct, for Claudia Singh to say she didn't know that you can't announce an election the way she did it. It was too glaring to see. We could all see this.
Yeah.
And as time progressed, we noticed that certain statements began to be made. And I'm going somewhere with this. The US started to say, hey, why Chinese having so many contracts? Remember that?
Yes.
Why giving Chinese so much? After election 2020, they went to Washington and certain things were being said, hey, why Chinese didn't know that? You have to share the pie. I don't forget words now. You have to share this thing. So we became, our patrimony, our wealth became something to be bargained for. And I could tell the Guyanese public that since the US started asking certain questions and they did not get favorable responses because China will be building Harbor Bridge, China will be building East Coast Road, China will be building Lyndon Mackenzie Bridge, the US is saying, you have not done what we told you to do. So let's see what happens in this case, because you could try to rig all you want. But regime change was our reality in 2020. It was regime change. It was external forces who made Claudia Singh refuse to act, as far as I'm concerned, because she knows the law. She functioned in an election matter before this. So she was best equipped to know that you can't come to tell me anything when you recount nonsense. That doesn't exist in our vocabulary when it comes to a matter called election before petition is heard.
Pastor London, I heard Jerry Govaya said publicly that they were in touch constantly with the Americans.
Correct.
And that the Americans put some initial sanctions on some people in APNU, and that they were about to extend the sanctions to their family. And that is when the towel was thrown in. On August, he said that this is not what somebody tell me, said. He said that, he admit, and then the American State Department, later in the report, they said the government was installed.
Correct.
Installed. It's not the PNC come up with that install government thing.
No.
That is the Americans.
The State Department.
The State Department said the government was installed. Them people are not dummies. When they talk, they know what they're saying. They didn't say the government was elected. No. They said the government was installed. And Jerry Govaya said he was in touch with the then people. We knew that Pompeo came here a mere days after the election. Up to this day, we don't know what he signed with our government, what the meeting was about. He now came back recently as a private citizen.
Correct.
And people want to say that election, you had attempted rigging election. The PPP rigged the hell, excuse me, bad word, rigged the hell out of that election. And Pastor, you and I have been on this because I think even the APNU people give up on it.
Yeah.
I think even the APNU people at some point give up on it. All right? Although that's the strongest case. And people like you and I kept saying, this thing wasn't regular. And now Income has confirmed it. They have confirmed it. Now to 2025. The PPP, Jack Dio, Ram Karan, and others are saying, look, we cannot get biometrics because you have to do constitutional reform to get biometrics. You cannot get a clean voters list by household registration because it will take a year. Now, they're not saying that biometrics is wrong. If we just can't do it, we got to change the constitution. Jack Dio said biometrics is a new voters list through the back door. They are aware of what they are doing. And I'm putting this to you as they would the lawyers will tell in court in the old days. You know, I'm putting it to you, when they cross-examine. They tell Dodo Sanko from the village, Mr. Sanko, I am putting it to you that you violated the law. He said, you can't put none to me because you have been But in your case, you were there. You were there following what's going on. Dodo tell, you can't put nothing to me. You not been there. Right? But in this case, I can put it to you because you have been there. And here is the story. It is GCOM who, as you just said, who runs an election.
Yeah.
And it is GCOM who has to say what the tools they need to run a proper election. And when they said, these are the tools I want, I need to run it, then it is the function of the legislative branch to give them the legal tools. It is not for anybody to tell them, you can't get these tools in time for an election. It is a GCOM to say, I need these tools to run a free and fair election. Even all the mess up that we mess up in 2020, we don't want to mess up again. We need to get updated biometrics, not some old fingerprint from when there was a scout. Updated biometrics. We need a proper voters list, house-to-house registration. Jack Dorsey going to take a year. And if Jack Dorsey says something going to take a year, the liar scam that he is, I think it can take half a year. All right? So it is for GCOM to say this is what we need. Not for Jack Dio to tell GCOM this is what you can't get. It is for GCOM to say what it needs. I am not a lawyer, but I am putting it to you, my brother, that I may be correct. What do you think?
Dr. Hines, I mean, even the dogs agree with you, even louder now. Listen, Dr. Hines, the law states, when we had all the madness election, they said, listen, the law is clear. GCOM has the power, that's what they said.
Yes.
GCOM has the power, according to the Constitution, to devise means to make the election appear to be fair or as fair as possible. That's what they said. So if biometrics would be a mean by which they're going to make the elections even fairer, they were in agreement with this in 2020. More than that. When I saw how Jagdi and others are now so carefully navigating through this biometric conversation, it tells me a whole lot about the intentions. Because it can't be that difficult. In 2020, in March, I was one among the first and others who said, listen, we need to solve this problem from 2020. Introduce biometrics, updated biometrics, modernized biometrics, so we won't have this problem anymore. Let's do this from now. 4 years have passed, and they did absolutely nothing, which tells me that if it would have taken a year to do it, then you have 4 to do it. They had no intention of doing it. And what I want to submit to Guyanese people is this, that if they did not do it for 4 years, they had no intention of it even in the next 10. Because the means to rig an election is to have a bloated voters list that you cannot remove names from, or they know they're dead, or you know they don't live here. You just have to go with the flow. And we now over 700,000 on that list. 700,000 eligible voters come to that list. What did that, Dr. Hines? How do we have a case in which GCOM would have been well aware of persons who were not even present in this country, and they voted? And they say we have a means to eliminate that. At least we can eliminate it with biometrics being updated. They refuse to do that too. So what is the likelihood of us having a fair election in 2025 when the body who's empowered constitutionally to ensure that that happens refuses to do so? When Claudia Singh spoke about biometrics as though this is something that's so difficult for GCOM to accomplish, I was wondering, where is this woman's head? Who is in her ear and who has controlled her mouth? Because you are empowered constitutionally to say this is what is required for us to have a free election. That's what they told me in 2020. That the Constitution empowers GCOM to even make laws like the recount. I said, no, GCOM can't make laws. I remember telling Anil and them, don't tell me nothing, no make law. GCOM cannot make a law. They're not legislative. What they can do is use the law to the best of their ability to ensure that we have a fair election. But now we have a case in which even biometrics has become a joke to these people, because I am convinced that they don't want a fair election. I'm convinced. What bothers me is the fact that the risk that the opposition will take to enter this election cycle, knowing what they know, is the dangerous risk to take. I prefer for the opposition to take a stance to say, get rid of all of these jokers in GCOM who want to waste their time. Get rid of them. Even the CEO, as far as I'm aware, is the new one. He got in there. He didn't have 10 years experience. But say, well, he was around people for 3 years and stuff like that, so he could get in. I think that was the reason she made. He was not qualified. The Jamaican was qualified. He wasn't. And we worked with him because she said, well, he was around, and you could count that as experience. Claudette is not acting in a manner since 2020. I don't know. We wait till now to say it. Since 2020, she should have been out. We can't play hopscotch when it comes to the next electoral process, because it's going to be worse in 2020. I promise you that. It shall be worse. because the plan is to have, as far as I can see it, enough in the bag to get their way. Let me take it further if I can, Dr. Hines. I remember Anil said, these are not my words, Anil said that they sweat, they toiled through the night, toiled. They worked tirelessly. Women to buy dildo in Guyana. That's what he said. They toiled. They worked overtime so you can buy sex toys. But you can't work overtime to have an updated law, an amended law for biometrics. So what matters to y'all? When it came to the Natural Resource Fund Act, oh, that was quick. That was swiftly. That was rushed through Parliament with the mace. Oh, yeah, they throw it down your throat. But you can't rush through a biometrics law to simply say, okay, we're now going to allow for updating of the biometrics, the spectrum that you can use. You can't do something so simple. You need to toil then, sweat all night, Annual, like you did for sex toys. But they would not do that because they have no intention of doing it.
Apostle Nigel London here tonight. I usually thief some time from Sherrod, but Sherrod played a trick on me tonight. He said, Dr. Hines, I need you on my program tonight. So I can't thief time from him. Apostle London, your closing thoughts as we close out so I can jump over to Sherrod. What's happening there in Linden? Talk to us.
I wish you well, Dr. Hines, and I know that you shall do well. Linden is seeing excessive and extensive works being done in reference to roads. I think that's made the news that hundreds of people have been awarded contracts. I happen to be one of them. There was awarded a contract, but the again, like elections, the unpreparedness is glaring. People are being awarded contracts with no contract in hand to work. Awarded contract with no notice to proceed or notice to work in hand, but you could just work. And because like the cash grant, they are unprepared and it's all about political gimmicks, and this has to stop or be curtailed. So a lot is happening, but I must say, do well. Finally, I say to the Guyanese people, do not be tricked. If you have to take a photograph to get money by using your ID card to identify yourself, it should tell you something is amiss. You cannot be asked for an ID card so they can take a photograph to identify you. It makes no sense. Something is amiss, and pay attention to the statements of hope from the PPP in 2025 based on this same photographic experience you're having now. Thanks, Dr. Hines. Thanks so much, and do well.
Apostle London, thank you very much for coming up here tonight and helping us to see our way through to the other side. Thank you much. Apostle Nigel London, always a pleasure to have him on. Very deep brother and committed. We are on this together. We are on this thing together. It's December, and I know we are starting to think about Christmas, but they want us to sleep. They want us to go to sleep. Let's do Christmas, but don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. We're going to be on them, because the more we corner them, the more we are seeing what they're up to. I'll be over with Sherrod in a couple of minutes, so you all will have to see me two times tonight. In the meantime, those of you who have not yet sent in your year-end donation to Politics 101, please do so. The digits, as you all say, it's down at the bottom there. The Cash App digits, the Zelle digits, what's the next thing? PayPal, the MMG. I got it all works there, so no excuses. I'm going to see you all tomorrow. Back on Politics 101. But in a couple of minutes, I'll see you all over in the ring with Sherrod Duncan. Good night for now, because as I said, you all see my face again in a couple of minutes.